This is the plaintiff, Jorenda Taylor. She says the defendant is her son-in-law, and he owes her a whole heap of money. That's right, she helped him out with his doctor bills, truck repairs, and a concert ticket. You name it, she paid for it. And family or no family, she's owed $1,060.34, and if she has to sue him to get it, then so be it. This is the defendant, David Reed Brasher. He says he and the plaintiff's daughter are about to have a baby, and this is no way for a future grandmother to behave. Serving her son-in-law in court like this, he refuses to give his mother-in-law a penny because she destroyed his belongings when she kicked him out of the house. That's right, she threw out his Xbox, hunting tools, boxing gloves, and photos of his wife. Oh, her, no way. He's accused of taking advantage. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $1,130. For all, he's now out.
All parties, please raise your right hands. People's Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Marilyn Leanne is now presiding. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Ms. Taylor, Mr. Brasher is your son-in-law, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Now, he and your daughter, who is not here today, she's staying out of it, right, Mr. Brasher?
Yes, sir.
I'm not a sir, but that's okay.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
Okay, dokie. So he and your daughter met online. They ended up dating for a while. Then they ended up getting married pretty quickly. And then they lived with his parents. She wasn't happy, so you end up taking them in, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And were they paying rent or no?
No, Your Honor. We did not charge either one of them for rent, food, nothing. They lived here rent-free.
So at some point, he needed money to visit doctors, and he had no health insurance, so you loaned him money in order to visit doctors and get medicine, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Then you also, according to you, loaned him money for what else?
They were getting ready to go to Gulf Shores for their honeymoon. His truck, he said, did not have the oil changed. It was making some noises. So I told him that I would loan him the money to have the oil changed and have the truck checked out. So I paid the bill for that as well.
All right,
also,
so you paid, that was $142.48. And what else did you front him?
My daughter and my son and I had purchased tickets to see Sarah Evans in Huntsville, Alabama. And they knew that they were going to be paying me back.
So your daughter was supposed to pay you back for her ticket as well?
We had talked about it, but then as it turned out, she didn't have the money for it. And I said, well, we'll figure it out. So on the way to Huntsville, my daughter and the defendant and my son got into an argument. So it was a very quiet trip after that died down. We got to the hotel, checked in, went to the room. We had one room. It had 2 beds and a sleeper sofa. So we were all going to stay in one room. So when we got to the room, my daughter and the defendant went into the bedroom area and closed the door. And I went and I opened the door and I said, you know, we need to start getting ready because it was a meet and greet, which we loved. And she was crying. He was angry. And he said, she's not going. We're staying here. And I said, well, then y'all are going to reimburse me the cost of this ticket. I'm not going to eat this ticket. And then he informed me that they didn't even want to sleep in the same room as my son. And I said, well, I don't know what you think you're going to do. And that's when he told me, he said, well, we'll sleep in the car. We're not sleeping in this room. I said, I'm not going to have my daughter sleep in this.
What was the argument about in the car?
The defendant was wanting to join the military, and he had some issues that my son was discussing with him that it would keep him from being able to get into the military. It was just, that's all it was about. But he said that she was not going to go to the concert. She was too upset. They were going to sleep in the car. I said, I'm not going to have my daughter sleeping in the car. I said, I will go down to the front desk, and if they have an available room for you, I will pay for the room, but you're going to pay me back. They both agreed. I went downstairs. I booked the room. They moved to the room. My son and I went to the concert, but they understood, and they both agreed that they would pay for the ticket and they would pay for the hotel room.
Mr. Brasher, why didn't you guys go to the, I mean, I don't care what the argument was about. Why would you miss out on going to the concert?
I really didn't care about that concert. I just went because my wife was going.
All right, so you didn't have a ticket for the concert? Okay. But
No.
so why didn't your wife go to the concert?
I don't know who
Did
she
you
is.
stop her from going?
It was really both our choices, because she said that she'd feel right going because I was there, and she didn't feel safe being around her brother when he's acting like that.
Why? What happened that was so bad? Did the brother threaten her in the car? I don't understand.
But when she was in the hotel room, her brother got in her face and started yelling at her, and I tried to break it up. And
When you say break
but
it
she
up, were they
wanted to
physical?
and I just felt like she was being threatened.
All right, the concert was when? 2019, what month?
Your Honor, it was December 5th of 2019.
All right, so now let's fast forward to January, and when we're in January, there's a fight at your home between the son and this defendant, correct?
Oh, no, Your Honor, it happened in December as well. The defendant had gotten a job with Security Engineers, and his client was Regions Bank. The morning of December the 12th, he started texting me and my daughter and informed us that he was in trouble, that he was looking at being having charges pressed against him for arson and attempted murder. Long story short, what happened, a portable heater had caught on fire, and he and a couple of the other security guards put the fire out. Well, according to the defendant, he liked the attention, so he went to the bathroom and started a fire in the bathroom and immediately put it out. And there was also a charge against him.
So he could be a hero?
Yes.
Okay, is that accurate? Did you commit arson in order to be able to curry favor at your work?
I did that once, but that is not
Once is more.
anything.
Once is one time too many, pal. So were you texting her and telling her that?
No, Your Honor. He texted me in the
I was
beginning,
saying-
and then when he came home, he was sitting here and he was explaining to me, my daughter was at work. Not only did he start the fire in the bathroom, but there was also an issue with him taking money out of banks that belong to customers. So he was telling us that he was going to be charged with arson and attempted murder. He was yelling at me. He was yelling
For
at my
what? What did you do? Wait a second. That doesn't make any sense. Why is he yelling at you if he's all contrite and did all this awful stuff at work and he's texting you about it? Why would he walk in
Your
yelling
Honor,
at you?
No, he was not contrite. He was mad. He was angry.
So now let's talk about what happens with the police showing up.
My son was here at the house. When the defendant came home, he immediately started getting into my face because I was trying to find out, what happened. All I'm getting are text messages. He gets into my face screaming at me. I have an 83-year-old disabled mother in a wheelchair. He's in her face screaming at her to shut up. My son hears it. He comes downstairs. The defendant makes a move towards me. Now, he's an armed security guard. We don't know if he has his pistol on him or not. So my son steps in between me and the defendant, and the defendant leaves the house, goes out in the front, and he says, "I'm calling the police." And I said, "Good, you better, because if you don't, I will." So he contacted the police.
So he calls the police. The police come, and he tells the police that your son hit him?
Yes, he did.
All right. Did your son end up getting arrested?
No, Your Honor.
Can I ask you a question? Why are you yelling at her? Are you yelling at her? Because she says you were. And why are you mad at her when you only have yourself to blame?
When I raise my voice, sometimes it sounds like I'm yelling, but I don't mean it.
So what did the brother do?
Then he gets in my face and starts yelling at me. And I asked him to get out of my face because I felt threatened. And then I tried going outside. He slams the door on me. He almost gets my hand in it. Then I get behind a couch trying to stay away from him.
Did he hit you or didn't he?
He put his hands on me and pushed me hard. Then I ran outside and I said, "I'm going to call the cops." And that's when I did.
Okay, so this is the last day. Did you stay there after that?
No, after that, she asked me to leave. I handed them my keys, and then I moved back to back to Auburn.
And at that point, were you already married to her daughter?
I was getting married, yes.
So what happens? How does the daughter find out what happened?
I texted her and told her.
Okay,
because
now your
she was
daughter ends
working
up, does she
still.
come home that day, or does she end up just going with him?
No, Your Honor, she stayed here. He packed up some items in his truck and he left. She stayed.
And when did she end up going with him?
It was on January the 18th of 2019.
All right, in January, when you went back there and you were taking your wife to come back with you, where did you guys move into? With your parents?
With my parents.
Okay, how old are you?
I'm 23.
And how old's your daughter?
She is 23. Or she's 22,
Okay,
I'm sorry.
So in February, when you guys are there to take items out of there, why don't you take out all your stuff then? I mean, you'd moved out in January, so why didn't you, in January you fit what you could, now you're in February, why don't you just take everything that you can out of there?
I tried to, and then we would try and load her stuff up too, and we ran out of room.
Okay, well, why don't you bring enough room to be able to move out?
On my way back to Auburn, my truck broke down. Like, the engine went out, everything went out on my truck. I had to get it towed. And that same day, my mom's transmission went out too, so her car was in the shop too. And my dad was working, so we had only one car available. So that was the only car we could load up all our stuff.
So you didn't have a job, and did your wife have a job?
When she was in Birmingham, she did, but when she quit that job to move to Auburn, now she's just a stay-at-home mom.
Okay, did you already have a baby?
No, we got one on the way.
Okay, when you said a
So,
stay-at-home
we
mom,
decided-
is she a mom before
I mean,
this?
like a stay-home wife.
Okay. So it's February, he doesn't get everything out. You text back and forth that he needs to pay and he needs to get his stuff out, or you're throwing it out. And your daughter then ends up sending you a text saying, well, he can't possibly pay you, so I guess throw stuff out. But he didn't say that, but your daughter did. Now, what ends up happening with all of his belongings? You told them that you threw it out, but the truth of the matter is you really didn't, right?
No, Your Honor, I did.
So some of them you got rid of and some of them you didn't?
Correct.
Now, you know that you owe her money. According to her, and I saw a copy of this, you signed a promissory note, and it says that you owe her the money. Did you sign a promissory note promising to pay her the money?
Yes, because I felt like, if I didn't sign whatever this is, she's gonna start something, argument will break out, and I just want to get my stuff and leave.
Okay, well, the only thing it says is that you owe the money. You don't, because we've been talking for a long time during this trial. I think you would understand the phrase, I owe you $785.90. Let me ask you a question. I have read maybe 100 texts between you and your daughter. And
Yes, Your Honor.
I was really touched when your son texted her, I love you, out of the blue, like the day after. It seems like it was maybe the day after a bad fight with cops or whatever happened, that there was a big scene. And she texts back, I love you too, I'm so sorry. And they were just so good with each other. And one of the things that has struck me is the fact that your daughter keeps trying to mend things with you and keep her marriage. She keeps telling you, he's trying, Mom, he's trying. Just, he can't do it this fast. Please give him some time. But more importantly, there have to be 3 or 4 different times where your daughter, and I want to read them to you because this is the thing that struck me the most from the texts. I'm sorry, you tell her that you're going to die because you weren't able to buy insulin because he won't pay you the money. Let me just suggest that if you have to pay for insulin and you will die if someone doesn't pay you back, perhaps you shouldn't loan money, okay? But you say that to her and she says, I'm sorry you weren't able to buy your insulin. Me and his dad both agree he needs to pay you back. I don't know what else you want me to say, but let me ask you this. Is this the only thing we're ever going to discuss? It seems like this is our go-to topic. Then on another day, I already told you I don't know much about the car situation. Why do I need to know about this lawsuit being public? You sound so mean. Mom, is this the only thing we're ever going to talk about? And then on another day, Mom, I don't know what you want me to say. I know because he's my husband. I don't always have to be loyal to him. There have been times I've taken your side too, but it seems like you don't want to remember those times. And you just like, I mean, pages of text where at some point, it seems to me that you're doing a lot of damage to your relationship with a kid who, as cases go, because I see a lot of ungrateful kids, as cases go, she's not a bad kid. And, she's caught between him and you, and apparently her loyalty to him, she's going to have a baby, I mean, there's going to be a baby. You want to see the baby. You want to be grandma to the baby. Would this be your first grandchild?
Yes, Your Honor, and I regret the conversations that she and I had by text message, and we have mended fences. I
hope so, because I have to tell you, because you only know your case, but I know all of them. And when I read this stuff, she's trying so hard to walk that line. That's why I'm not surprised that she's not here. She wants to stay out of it because she wants to stay loyal to him, but she wants to stay loyal to you. But let me suggest that a better parenting method is that you not talk to her about him, that you try to work on your own relationship with her the same way she's trying to work on herself as a person, okay? It's just a way better idea. That's good.
What we are
That's
doing.
good, because I'm going to presume that at some point you folks would like to be a normal family that actually gets together for holidays, where you actually get to see your grandchild. So there needs to be some finality to this. Now, you need to understand that if you're 23 and you want to bring a human into the world, you want to make a person, and you want to play house and you want to get married, maybe at some point you need to figure out your own deal and work your own way out of a paper bag. You can't be borrowing money and relying on relatives. It's time for you to stand on your own 2 feet. You guys have bills to pay. You have people to pay back. And everybody should be working, unless she has a health problem, that prevents her from it. There's just no reason for that. All right. What we're going to do is I'm going to order him to pay you the amount that he signed on the promissory note, which is $785.90. And on his counterclaim against you, you are suing her for all the items that you left behind since December that she apparently got rid of after March, and also for fuel and lost wages. You're suing for $240 for fuel and lost wages. What's that about?
I was going to drive up to Birmingham.
Okay, so you didn't. All right, we're done. So on your counterclaim against her for all those items that she either threw out or donated, I am finding in her favor, because people have to keep, if you leave something, first of all, you shouldn't leave anything behind. When you move out, you should have everything. And when you have a whole other month to come back with your dad and get everything, that is what you should be moving. You should be moving the last of your stuff. And then what you do is you leave it even another month after that. So we're talking about December to January, January to February, February to March, 3 months. She doesn't have to store your stuff for 3 months. So you don't get to win on your counterclaim $1,130 worth of stuff, but on her claim against you, I am finding in your favor for $785.90. Verdict for the plaintiff on the counterclaim 0.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Well, that was quite a case, to say the least. Let's talk to the defendant who lost his countersuit, is going to have to pay the plaintiff $785. Mr. Brasher, you got quite a lecture from the judge. What do you think about that? What are you thinking right now?
Really, to be honest, I'll take the result, but I'm not really happy about that, because I just lost a lot of stuff that my grandparents gave me, and now I don't have anything that what my grandmother gave me, that she passed away. Now I don't have anything that she gave me, but it is what it is.
Well, it's your fault for leaving it there. The other thing is, the judge says you really got to start to hustle, get a job. How about that? What do you think about that?
I'm working on getting a job right now.
All right. Well, it doesn't seem too persuasive to me anyway. Anyway, you lost the case, and that's it. Ms. Taylor, let me ask you a question. The judge gave you quite a lecture, too. What do you think about what she had to say to you?
She's absolutely 100% correct, Your Honor. The relationship between my daughter and myself, it did go on the decline because of everything going on with the defendant, but she and I are definitely have turned things around. We speak at least every other day. I'm looking forward to the birth of my first grandchild and for her to come to Birmingham so we can go baby shopping.
Well, let's hope you patch things up and things improve in your life, especially with your daughter
Thank you.
And her husband. Thank you very much. All right, that'll wrap it up for this case. Pretty engrossing case, to say the least. Now, let's join Judge Marilyn Milian and her husband, Judge John, for another edition of After the Verdict. This should be interesting.
Well, Marilyn, a lot of emotion in this case, family dispute. But one of the things I noticed you talked to litigants about a little bit is the idea that if somebody leaves stuff at your house, whether you're a homeowner or a landlord, if they don't explain to you that they intend to abandon it at that time, or they don't demonstrate that they're going to abandon it, you have an obligation.
You have an obligation as a homeowner or a landlord. You have some obligation. You can't just throw it out that day.
Right.
Right. And it kind of feels like you should be able to. Hey, they left it behind. Why do I'm not a storage room. Why should I have to keep it? But most jurisdictions have the requirement that you keep it for a certain amount of time, for a reasonable period. And in most jurisdictions, that reasonable period has been found to be about 30 days.
That's the rough number.
That's a rough number. And now in this situation, he moved out in December, and we're talking about 90 days later. So she was well within her rights to be sick of being a storage room.
Right.
But I'm glad to hear that the plaintiff and her daughter are working on their relationship, because it's really, you never expect that your texts with your child are going to end up as part of a lawsuit.
No, that's unfortunate.
And it's unfortunate, but of course she chose to file a lawsuit, and she entered those into evidence.
Well, they need to mend those fences fast, because in December there's going to be another one on the scene.
Right.
Right.
A
God
baby.
willing.
And God willing, they'll be able to mend it before then.
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
Well, Stephen, depending on the state, you may have a case. There are a lot of states, for example, California, where if you take your car to an auto repair shop, they have to write down what it is that they're fixing before they do it, or they don't get paid. There are other states that don't have laws that are that stringent. You're going to have to check your state. It's going to be easy to do. You just go online, look under auto repair laws, and you should be able to find it. That'll do it for this case. Litigants for the next case on the way into the courtroom right now.